Hello everyone and welcome to Talks with Janette. Today I'm going to be talking to one of the loveliest ladies that I know and a Strictly finalist. Today it's afternoon tea with Debbie McGee. Well, hello, Mrs. Debbie McGee.
Hello.
The lovely Debbie McGee. That's why I thought that for you today we'd have a lovely afternoon tea. Would you like some tea?
Yes, it was fantastic of you to invite me to tea,
You're
Janette.
so welcome. Afternoon tea in my house
Yeah.
with Debbie McGee. It doesn't get any better, does it?
And really, with the best, this is like the Queen's
I know,
crockery,
aren't they
isn't it?
beautiful? My mother got me these. She's very proud. That was a home gift from her.
Thank you, Mum.
So chin chin.
Chin chin, indeed.
Cheers. Thanks for coming along.
I only came for the tea, you know. No, actually, I came for the cakes.
For the cakes, yeah. You've had such an exciting year. Obviously,
I have.
just did Strictly Come Dancing, got in the final with our Italian stallion Giovanni. But I want to learn a bit more about the Debbie McGee that was there before Strictly came along. So let's go way, way back. So where was Debbie born?
I was born in a place called Surbiton in Surrey, which is like a suburb south of London. My dad was Irish and my mum came from near Surbiton. And I went to a little local dancing school when I was about 7, which is quite late to start. But it was because I used to sit and watch all the musicals on television and try and copy.
Oh, so is that where you got kind of the
Yeah.
itchy feet to start dancing?
That's where I got the bug.
Yeah.
actually. And then when I was about 11, I was doing quite a lot of competitions, and my dad, who was really wise, would come and watch them. And then when I was 11, he said to me, if you want to do this seriously and do it as a career, you need to change and go to a better dancing school.
Oh, wow.
And
So he was
yeah,
right away
he
on
was
it.
on the case. He watched the competitions and could see which school was winning the most medals.
Uh-huh.
So I went to a new school where at the old school I was the best at the school. When I went to this new school at 11, of course, I was the worst because they'd all been going from when they were 3 and it was such good training. But I soon kind of worked my way through. And then when I was 16, I went to the Royal Ballet School to do a teaching course. Which
So you went in to learn how to teach?
teach because you still did all the dancing classes with all the same teachers and the same training, but my dad again said if you're going into show business and you're going to dance or act or whatever, you need something behind you, and if you're not going to go to university, if you do this special teaching course, it wasn't easy to get on the teaching course there
Okay.
either. It was quite specialised because you had to be of a dancing standard of the school to get in.
Oh, wow.
And so then I did 3 years of doing that.
And you did 3 years then at the Royal Ballet
Yeah.
studying. And did you get any kind of teaching degree? Or
Yes,
did
I had a diploma.
Amazing.
We started, I think, the first year there was 30 of us, and then we still every year had to pass dancing tests to stay at the standard of the school. So
Wow.
by my 3rd year, there was only 2 of us left that got our diploma.
2 of you left. So
yeah.
how many did you say it was when you started? 30, and this just the 2 of you finished and graduated.
2 of us
That's quite impressive. And do you find that in the ballet program, it's such a rigid program, isn't it? Did you find that easy, or was it hard for you to stick to such a regime?
I just loved it.
You loved
I
it.
just loved it. So it was a challenge. It was very tough, but I just loved every minute. I love music.
Yeah.
I loved the whole process. So although it was hard, it was like doing Strictly.
Yeah.
It's tough, but it just every day you want to get up and get there.
And then how old were you then when you finished it? When you finished yours?
19.
19. So
Yeah.
then at that point in your life, did you
Yeah.
decide to continue the dancing, or did you go off into something else?
I went into a classical ballet company in Tehran in Iran.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I went there is because I've always had quite a business head. And I had this plan that this company in Iran were paying like 5 times more than what the Royal Ballet was
Really?
paying at that time. That I would go to Iran for 3 years, save as much money as possible, and then come back to England and buy some properties so that if show business didn't work out,
You had
I
this.
an income.
Yes.
But I was there when the revolution broke out and the Ayatollah came and kicked the Shah out. So if you've seen the film Argo with Ben Affleck,
Uh-huh.
that's what I went through. There was a revolution, I got hidden.
You were hidden?
I was hidden with some of
Were
the
you
others.
petrified? That must have been so scary.
Well, I've always been a person that just thinks whatever situation I'm in, I'm going to get out of.
You're going to get
I
out
just
of.
always
You're a
believed that.
survivor.
So I don't remember being scared. I just remember thinking, right, I need to do something about this.
Yeah.
Well, because I'd saved so much money, I could afford to buy a ticket. And I actually I got the last plane out of Tehran airport before they closed it.
Wow.
Because I paid 10 times what it would normally cost. Where lots of the others I was working with that were from England or the West or America, they hadn't saved any money and they stayed a lot longer than me and all had nervous breakdowns and
I
an awful
bet.
time.
And did you know any of them? Were you friends? Did you
Yeah, because in the company, there was 65 of us in the company.
in the company, yeah.
And I think 2/3 of us were from around the world, not from Iran. So, yeah, so we all
Wow.
knew each other pretty well.
So you were quite lucky that you had such a smart thought process going
Well,
into it to help you get out.
And just lucky that I'd saved money.
Yeah, that's
And
what I mean,
also,
yeah.
I did know somebody who was in the Foreign Residence Bureau who knew people in the airlines, which is how I got a flight. But when I got to the airport, very similar to in Argo, when I'd applied for my visa, they'd altered something.
Oh.
So when I got to the airport to leave, they thought I'd done it. So they locked me in an office, which was like a cupboard. They said, you can't go. Well, I knew this was the last plane leaving. And driving to the airport.
And you'd also paid for this incredibly
paid a lot,
expensive ticket,
But
yeah.
also, I didn't want to be stuck there because they were closing the airport and there was a curfew. And as I was driven to the airport, tanks were coming in and surrounding Tehran, and there was going to be trouble. So I knew
Wow.
it was going to get worse. So anyway, I chatted up a young customs officer, and I was only 19 myself.
Did you
who-
flutter your eyes
I
a little bit?
fluttered my eyes. He stamped my passport and said run, and I literally ran across the tarmac and onto the plane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And how old were you at this point?
19.
19 still.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was only there for 7 months.
I was going to say, so then Iran didn't last as long as you expected
No.
it to. So when you came back, what did you do then? Did you try and get back into the Royal Ballet?
Well,
or
then all the ballet companies in England were full. So because I trained earlier in jazz and modern dancing and tap dancing, I thought, well, I can't get a job in a ballet company. I just loved show business. I didn't care what I did in show
you
business.
love showbiz, yeah.
So I auditioned for a big organisation that put on shows all around the country.
Okay.
And so I auditioned for them, I got the job, and they put me in the Paul Daniels Magic Show for that summer. So that's how I met Paul.
Wow, so we have a lot to thank them for,
Yeah,
don't we?
Not have met him
And did you have to
otherwise.
audition for that, or did
Yeah.
they see you? And how was the audition? Because a lot of people don't realize the auditions can be really, really scary. But you must have really been like coming back saying, "I really want this job," no? Because
Yeah,
you had
I was desperate for work. I
Yeah.
needed some money. It was a big audition because I think they had about 10 shows on around the country, summer shows in those days, which they don't tend to do now. All the seaside resorts have big theatres.
Yes,
And
yes,
this company, the Delphonts, used to put on shows at all the theatres, big theatres around the country. And so I think there was about 1,000 of us at the
1,000?
audition. And then they put sort of, 8 in this show with a singer called Des O'Connor in those days. 8 in that show, and the show I was put in was Paul's show.
And how many of you that auditioned, do you remember how many of you went into Paul's show?
10.
10 of you
Yeah,
guys.
that first year.
And did you know them? Had you worked with them before? No.
Nope,
So you
didn't
came
know
alone into Paul's show.
Yeah.
And now I have to ask with Paul, was it love at first sight?
Well-
Did you see him and think, oh my God, what a wonderful human? Or like, did it take time? Did you
Yeah.
create a friendship? Tell me the love story.
Well, it was an immediate chemistry thing. We made each other laugh immediately. And we were both punctual people, so we were both early. And the rehearsal room, the dancers had been rehearsing for about 4 days, first of all. And then he joined us on the 4th or 5th day. And it was in Shepherd's Bush. And the rehearsal room wasn't even open when I got there. So
Oh,
I
really?
was sitting with my legs stretched out on a wall, waiting for somebody else to turn up or for them to open it. And then Paul arrived. And the funny thing is, when I got the job, I didn't know who he was because he'd become famous while I was living in Iran. And so when I got home from the audition, I was saying to my parents and ringing my friends, I've got this job with this guy called Paul Daniels.
And they're all like,
What does he do? I thought he'd be a comedian or something. And they all said a magician. I hated magic. I mean,
Did
I absolutely
you?
hated magic because I'd only seen really boring, bad magicians until
oh,
then.
wow.
And so the only thing I'd seen him on was a quiz program called Blankety Blank,
Mm-hmm.
where he was being really stupid, but he made me laugh. And I thought, yeah, actually, he's funny.
He's
so
funny.
I might like this guy.
So the being early, the funny,
Yeah.
that really brought you guys a bit together.
Yeah, so then he arrived, and we were the only two for about 15 minutes. And we made each other laugh. And in his autobiography, he tells a tale that what attracted him to me was that he said something to me as a quip. and I came back really fast with something.
Oh,
really
you were
funny and tagged
witty.
him.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the immediate connection.
Wow, you see, boys do like a bit of a challenge.
They
You
do.
see,
They do.
yeah.
They do.
And then were you friends for a while, or did you go on a date straight
Yeah.
away? When was your first date?
Well, I was 20 years older than him, and he had a girlfriend at the time that I met him. So we just used to kind of muck about and make each other laugh in rehearsals, and then once the show started, during the show. And I did go out to dinner with him, but with a lot of other people
Yeah.
during that show. But he just kept saying to me, "You're far too young for
You're
me.
far too young.
Go and
You
find
said 20
somebody
years,
your-"
right?
Yeah.
20 years is the age gap, yeah.
Yeah.
Aliash and I have 7.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Yeah. So he just kept saying, "Go and find somebody your own age." So we didn't get together immediately.
Yeah, it took a little while.
It took a few years.
A few years?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long before you went on that first date?
Well, I can't really say when it was a first date because he just
You
kept
just kind
saying-
of happened.
Yeah, we went to some opening nights together. He took me to a Magic Circle banquet where he was guest of honor as his guest.
Yeah.
And he'd take me out to things, and the first show I did with him was for 4 months, and then I went off and I was working with Abba and Christopher and people all around Europe as like a backing dancer with a group called the Second Generation. And then the following summer, I did Paul's summer season again, which was in Bournemouth. And then while I was in that, his director from a show he was going to be doing at the Prince of Wales Theatre in the West End came to see the show and asked if I'd like to audition for the choreographer for the West End show, which is what I did.
Amazing.
And I got that. And then while I was in that show, Paul started doing his TV series, which I went to have like an interview, not really an audition, with his director, and I didn't get it the first year.
Oh, really?
But the second year, the producer and director had come and seen the live show at the Prince of Wales Theatre, and after that offered you the position.
They
TV
said, we
show.
need to have her.
Yeah, because people always think it was just because I was his girlfriend, but actually I wasn't going out with
No.
him then.
Yeah, you said, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just briefly threw it in there, but you danced with Abba. Tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
that. That must have been cool.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Abba's
They were
amazing.
great. I was dancing with this group called the Young Generation.
Yeah.
Well, we were the second generation, but the Young Generation had been quite famous in England on Saturday night TV. And so we went to, I was in Europe with Abba. We did live concerts.
Wow.
We did some TV shows. And it was just, and we kind of opened the show and then we closed the first half maybe and opened the second half.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then you got this with Paul on the TV show the second
Yeah.
year that the show was on.
Yeah.
Wow. And you had never done television before
No.
up until that point, had you?
I'd done a few bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces,
Yeah,
right?
from after I came back from Iran, in between doing these 2 summer shows with Paul, I never stopped working. So I'd done a thing called Record Breakers, and I'd done some extra work where I got picked out to be featured and things like that.
Oh,
so I'd done
wow.
a little bit.
A little bit.
But not much.
But so when you joined Paul's TV show,
Yeah.
was it as his lead magic? What would you call it? Like,
Well, it was Magic Assistant.
magic
then.
assistant?
No, he, for the first year that he did, I think he did 2 years before, or 2 series before I joined it. He always used different assistants, and they had 2 or 4. on.
Okay.
So when I joined, there was another girl who'd done it the previous year who was on, and we did 1 or 2 years together.
Ah.
And then after that, I got lots of fan mail, and apparently, I was told, I got more than all the others put together.
Yes,
And
Debbie,
Paul
high five.
said that I had great timing
For the tricks
for
and
the
the
tricks
magic.
and everything, and that I had a natural timing for the comedy, which suited him. So therefore, they kept me on. But in those early days, Paul had a director that felt the magic assistant should just be in the background. So
Okay.
if he could, and he was honest about it, we talked about it, he would cut me out. So in the studios with the audience when we were recording, Paul and I always had loads of banter. It
Yeah.
was never scripted. We could make each other laugh when we were performing like we did in real life. But he would cut all of that out to keep my part quite small.
Yeah, because
And
I
that-
guess for the director it was about
Yeah.
Paul and the
Yeah,
magic
and
trick.
it was all to do with magic.
Don't like
So it
that,
took
Debbie. We
quite
don't
a-
like that.
quite a few years to be patient,
Yeah.
which I always am, because I knew it would just slowly grow, which it did. And then in the live shows, of course, I had my own slots and could kind of say whatever I wanted. You know.
That's amazing. So it was quite a slow growing process to becoming this
Yeah.
amazing. Well, what would the name be now? Because you said it's not magic assistant
Well, now
anymore.
they still call them magic assistants,
Do they?
but my part in it became a lot bigger than just an assistant. So we became a team.
You became a team. I was going to say, because you were quite well known also
Yeah.
as Debbie McGee in
Yeah.
Paul's show, but not just as the assistant. You had
No.
quite a presence in there. And what was the slot that you just mentioned that you used to do for the show?
Well, over the years, because my part in the show grew, and in our live shows, I was doing my own magic and things like that, and I would do, Paul and I would do a lot of chat, not just magic, and come on and take the mickey out of each other or talk about what we'd got up to that day and have domestics on stage in a jokey way.
Yeah.
So on the TV shows, I started doing the odd trick of my own, and I had a mind reading slot each series and things like that.
Could you read minds?
So, of course.
Oh, okay. Well, you can read mine later.
Okay.
And tell me what you hear. Okay, you whisper it
So
to
yeah,
me.
so it just grew really slowly, and the public then started to get to know me, and I got offered other things, and would do lots of corporate stuff, hosting awards ceremonies, and
Yeah.
invited on to chat shows and things like that.
That's incredible. Oh my God. And so then when was the wedding? What happened?
1988 we got married.
1988. How happy were you that day?
Oh, just delirious, as you were on yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, we, Paul waited a long time, and then by then I was very independent. I owned my own property and my car, and I would never let him help me. And I always said to him, when he asked me to marry him, I was actually it was near my 27th birthday, I think, and so we'd known each other coming on 8 years. That he realised that actually I was really independent. I was getting loads of other work,
Yeah.
but he might lose me.
He was scared to lose
Yeah,
you.
I'm
You see,
sure.
again, a man loves a challenge,
But
doesn't
he
it?
always said it was by then I was older, and he didn't think the press would give me such a
Hard time. Yeah.
So we kept it quiet, but we knew that we were planning a wedding when we were buying a house together, and then we got married when I was 29.
Do you know what it sounds like from the story that you started with earlier? You did achieve what you wanted. You said you wanted to have a great financial position to buy your own home and buy a car and have it. And you did do that.
Yeah.
You did it. So Iran didn't work out, but life worked out in another
Still
way.
got there in a slower
You still got
journey,
there in the
yeah.
end. And you also said that you didn't really like magic. So when did you start liking the magic tricks to the point that you even started doing your own?
Right. Well, this sounds very biased, but it was as soon as I started watching Paul.
Ah.
Because his magic was baffling but entertaining.
So he made it more of a show.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the trick.
And he really knew, I came from a background, I'd learnt about stagecraft, I knew about lighting and things. And what I loved about working with him was that he knew everything about show business.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing the TV shows, he knew everything about the cameras, the lighting, the sound,
Yeah.
and whatever. So I learnt so much from him. And he was so fast, he never ever worked from a script. But he had rehearsed in his head, not what he was going to say, but just every move. And a manager that he had when I first met Paul said to me, he is a perfectionist. This isn't going to be easy. He said, but I just warn you, Paul doesn't breathe on stage or in front of a camera unless he's thought about it. And I actually really think that was true. He thought everything.
He was so smart,
Yeah.
so creative, obviously, and smart, because it takes both to put on an
Yeah.
incredible show like that. And how many years did you guys do that for? How many years were you doing the show together for?
I think the TV shows were for about 15 years.
Wow.
But from when I joined them.
That's
yeah.
incredible. What
Yeah.
a journey.
We had the greatest time. Every rehearsal was fun. Just because he always made everybody laugh. And, we had a team that a lot of them stayed with us through all of that. And, along the way, we won the Golden Rose of Montreux, which is a big TV award that the BBC hadn't won for something like 20 odd years until we won
Wow.
the Golden
What
Rose.
an honor.
And, we got Lifetime Achievement Awards in Hollywood and things like that.
Amazing.
There were so many things that happened.
Did you guys ever get to do something in the USA?
We did, but mostly for magicians.
Okay.
Yeah, because we weren't known in the US because the programs were sold to 43 countries around the world. So we were known in Japan and Swaziland. We could go on holiday to America and not be known.
And
so
not be,
nice.
yeah, it's nice to have
But
some time
most
away.
of the magicians in America knew us.
And so, wow, what an incredible story. Do you ever want to tell someone how a trick is done? Have you ever wanted to say a secret, or are you really good at keeping secrets?
I can be bought.
Okay, we'll talk again then. We'll talk again.
That's what I always say.
So what now? We've got to talk about Strictly, because we cannot talk about Strictly. That's where I got to meet you, make you a friend. So how did Strictly come about? When was the first time that you heard they were kind of coming into your life, that they were interested, that they wanted to have you on?
Right, it was in the April. And so I got invited for coffee with two of the
producers.
Yeah, so that's when I knew that they were interested.
Wow. And did they approach you then? Did they come to you and say?
They phoned my agent, and my agent rang me and said, you know, he knew I would love to do it. I'd always wanted to do Strictly. So, so that's how we went, my agent and I went and had coffee.
And was it kind of, because I know Strictly, everybody's very different when it comes to making that decision. It is a big decision because it's such a big TV show. And at that point, you were already working in radio, weren't you? You were already doing your radio show that you do on BBC. Is it BBC?
Yeah, BBC Radio
BBC
Berkshire.
Radio Berkshire, yeah. So you had the radio show. Were you still involved in dancing in any way at all?
No, I hadn't done. I gave up dancing when I was about 24 because I was doing the TV shows with Paul and tours and loads of other corporate things with Paul, and I just couldn't do, the dancing jobs were overlapping. So I just couldn't do both. So that was it. So I'd given up even before I got married. So I hadn't done anything since then. I just kept myself fit because you're in the limelight and working. So I didn't think about it for very long because I'd always wanted to do it. I loved the show. So it, you know, and at that time, from after Paul died, which was when Strictly approached me, it was a year after he died. I hadn't stopped working, and I was doing lots of guest performances on television shows and a few other bigger projects, which I did a lovely boating program called Carry On Barging, and then I did a pilgrimage across the Pyrenees and into Spain. So I was doing some quite big projects. So you had done some,
and they were all TV related, obviously.
And I'd coped really well, even through all my grief. So Strictly to me was just, you know, it was just like all my dreams had come true because I'd always wanted to do it.
So there was never a doubt that you were going to say yes to being a part of the show?
Not a doubt at all.
That's amazing.
As long as the money was right.
Oh, yes. We are financial, Debbie McGee. We make financial choices, don't we? Oh, my gosh. So that was in April. So when was it that you actually, when Strictly came, you had this incredible chat, and obviously you said you were going to say yes no matter what. When was the day that you said, you got the phone call saying that you're in it, and they said,
It wasn't. I can't remember it exactly when, but I think it was like the end of June.
So it's quite late in the...
really late. They kept ringing my agent and saying, Debbie's still on the table, but we've got to put all our different people together. And so we really can't finalise it.
Yes.
So it was really late. So
really late, but you got it in the end.
Yeah, and I just kept saying to my agent, well, you know, we can't wait forever, but we have to give them to a certain point.
Yes, of course. And I mean, you just mentioned it was about a 1 year anniversary since Paul had passed. And but before, let's go back a little bit again. Before, when you and Paul did you have a long time not doing the TV show, or did he do the TV show for many, many years?
Yeah, we did the TV shows. I think we finished in about 1982.
1982.
So we'd had quite a long time without having a series, which he always said was a great relief to him, and he didn't realise till we stopped that the pressure he had every year to find new material. And new acts. You know, we travelled the world looking for the best acts, circus acts and things in the world. So we were always going to Las Vegas and things, watching anything new that came. So we had a great life. I mean, we had an amazing life, and it just got better and better. And when we stopped doing the TV shows, what happened was, before that, we were always working. Where when the TV shows stopped, we actually had weekends off and had friends over at parties.
Had a bit of a life.
Travelled, we went everywhere. We travelled the world, you know, and we would be invited by people to, like Prince Rainier of Monaco, invited us for the weekend, and he hosted a magic weekend, but he didn't want us to perform. He just wanted us to be his guests.
Just to be his guest, because he was a fan of...
Yeah. So, hey, I got to sit next to Prince Rainier.
Next to a prince. Oh my God,
everything.
Debbie, this is why you're the lovely Debbie McGee.
There we are. Yeah, so, I just, and Paul, to be around him, he had amazing energy, and just wherever you were, he was making people laugh. So I just never stopped laughing in my whole life with him.
And do you feel like the love between the of you just got stronger and stronger as the years went? Because you have said to me in the past in other conversations that, Janette, it just felt like every year we fell more and more in love with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And he always said that. It just got better and better.
That's so beautiful, I think, for especially, you had a funny situation to start with because of that age difference. And, I know press aren't necessarily always the friendliest of people. And for him to kind of, for the two of you really to sit by each other's side and go with this together and only make your lives better and better as the time went on, it's just beautiful.
I think what it was is that because we'd worked together on television for such a long time, people knew us. And then if people met us in person, they saw that we weren't the image of, say, a director had actually quite created, that we were very down to earth, and how well we got on. Because whenever people met us for the first time, they always used to say, now we can see why you got married. We can see why you two are together. And then as the years went on, I think the public realised, well, I really wasn't a gold digger, and that we really did get on.
You really just fell in love, really. And it wasn't overnight, like you said. It took quite a few years.
I think I fell in love with Paul much sooner than he fell in love with me, because he was so scared that I was so young.
Yeah, but look, you took the leap and you had a beautiful life together, didn't you? And now let's go back to Strictly, because that's my territory, So you came on the show, and we go to the secret location that we talk about, where we have our first encounters. And I remember seeing your face that day. You were with a smile from ear to ear when they showed all of the celebrities and all the pros meeting for the first time. You were so happy. How did you feel that day? Did it all sit and, oh my gosh, this is real.
It was just like being at the best party. It was just like being at the best party. It was just fantastic.
Did you, and be honest,
Yeah.
did you have your eye on someone from day one?
No.
No?
I really didn't, no.
Ah.
I just, because I'd seen the program before, I knew who everybody was. And in my head, I knew that whoever was choosing, because I didn't know who chose the partners, that they would, have to match people up height-wise, which we were both quite tiny. So I knew I wasn't going to get Aliash, because he was tall. And I thought I might get Kevin, because all the makeup girls had said to me, you might get Kevin. That's who they thought they'd pair me with. But, I was really open-minded, because I just thought, I'm really lucky that I always get on with people.
You do. So you're the lovely Debbie McGee.
I wasn't going to get on with somebody.
Yeah.
So I thought, whoever it is, I'm going to have a good time with. And I'm just so lucky I've got this program.
Yeah.
So I'll go with it. But what happened was, on that very first day, remember, we started learning the launch show dance.
Yes.
And I had this one little bit with Giovanni, just like 6 steps or something.
Yeah.
And that was it. Then I knew I wanted Giovanni.
Then you knew.
Then. I just knew. We just connected.
So it was a love at first dance with Giovanni.
Yeah, it was. Love the dance. And he said the same about me.
Oh, he really was. I'll tell you, as one of Giovanni's closest friends, he was crossing all his fingers that he would get you. I think a few of the boys really wanted to dance with you, to be honest. They were really excited.
Yeah, so I could pick it up.
Yeah, and did you, on that first show, when they announced that you and Giovanni were dancing together, Giovanni's reaction was... He was so happy. Were you just as happy? I'm sure.
Absolutely. I couldn't, for about 3 nights before, I hadn't slept.
Because you were nervous, obviously.
I was so nervous, because I was thinking, what if I don't get him? I'll be disappointed, but I'll be fine with whoever I'm with. But I really want to dance with
you want to get Giovanni. Yeah, and I know you got a little bit of stick in the press because you had danced before. But also, what you represented, was so special. No one has done what you've done on the show, have they?
So I've been told.
Yeah, and you came on every week and you were saying, Janette, I'm so tired. Sometimes I feel like my age can sometimes get the best of me. But I think you were such an inspiration. I know definitely even for me. I watched you every week, and your professionalism, your ability, you were taking energy drinks and, you know, making
Yeah.
sure you woke up in the morning and went to the gym. And Giovanni said that you were always there 20 minutes, 30 minutes before, making sure that you were going over the routine.
Yeah.
Do you think that work ethic and that professionalism came from obviously all the years that you did the TV and also a bit of that ballet training?
Yeah, I'm sure it's from the ballet training. And also the dancing school I went to before I went to the Royal Ballet School was a little local dancing school, but it was run by a mother and daughter, and they'd been professional dancers at a very high level. So they taught me stagecraft, they taught me how to take a bow. One of the things when I first worked with Paul was that he said he didn't know how I knew that being a magician's assistant, you know, at the end of a trick, if you go, da-da-da, the audience are going to clap, that I instinctively knew not to move. Because as soon as you move, the audience applause goes.
Yes.
And they think he's going to do another trick or that we're
Yeah,
stopping.
it's such a small detail, but so
I
important.
actually learnt that from my original dancing school, was that, you know, at the end of a dance, hold the pose. Until you hear the applause dying down. Then you can move.
And you think they had massive then input into your professionalism.
And the work ethic. And also I came from parents that were really hard workers, you know, working class people that actually had done really well because they just worked and had a great work ethic, never sat down and was lazy. You know, inspired me to enjoy every day.
Wow. And do you have a favorite moment from your time on Strictly? And it doesn't have to necessarily be something you did on stage. It could be a moment with Giovanni in a rehearsal room.
Well, you know, every day with Giovanni, we just made each other laugh. So every moment with Giovanni is a favourite moment because it's just so funny. And you know that I played quite a few jokes on him as well.
You did.
Took him by surprise. I still sometimes not sure if he quite got them. But, you know, I think that was something that grew, that he wanted me as a dance partner because he could see I could pick steps up and thought there was potential. And for me, where Giovanni surprised me was that, you know, he's, you know, got a wise head on young shoulders.
Yeah.
And that his work ethic and what he knows at his age is what I just loved about him.
Yeah.
Because it was what I've had for all those years.
And you two really seem to have such a special friendship, really. And it really came across when you danced together.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, not everybody was a part of that, but we rehearsed a few times together in the same studio. And you could just feel the energy in the room when the two of you were in there, that you were like working hard, but also having a laugh and really enjoying it. And because I think that's important, isn't it? To also have fun while you do it, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think if you don't, it would just... It would be too hard.
Yeah, because Strictly is quite an intense machine, and it's so big, and you can easily get caught up in the competitive side. But you and Giovanni had such a perfect combination of the two.
Yeah,
you really did enjoy it, and you did so. I mean, you got all the way to the final.
I know. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I really didn't expect to get past week 4.
What?
I actually, at the very beginning, I went into it thinking, you know, if I'm still there in week 5, I will have done really well. But I wasn't expecting to be.
Oh my! I knew it. You were gonna go all the way. I was like, it was in my heart from the day I saw you do that first cha-cha-cha, the day I met you. It's like, that is a good one. She's a good one. And so do you have, oh my gosh, wait, we need to talk about that. Craig bowing down to you. He's never done that for anyone ever.
I know.
Were you like, I mean, your face was a bit shocked, wasn't it, when he did it?
I just couldn't believe it. Exactly. I mean, even if he says something nice.
Even though he says something nice.
Something nice.
Yeah.
But the fact he did that, I mean, you know, it was like...
How did you feel? You must have been like such an, I mean, I know it's so silly, but it feels quite like an honor.
Well, it did feel like that. That's exactly how it felt. You just feel completely honoured that he's done that. And in fact, on the way here today, I was listening to the radio, and he was talking about me.
Was he? What was he saying about you?
Just
Probably
nice,
wonderful
nice
words.
Things. Yeah, he was being really lovely.
Oh
so
my
I must
gosh.
send him a message later and say thank you.
And were you, I mean, obviously you got into the final, but that moment when you heard that you were through to the final, how special was that?
Yeah, that's something you can never relive. It's something I'll remember forever.
Yeah.
And just being in the final.
Let's talk about your show dance, because your show dance was quite a special one, wasn't it? Quite emotional. Tell me a little bit, what was your show dance about? What did you and Giovanni have that you wanted to showcase?
Well, he wanted to relate it to my ballet background, because everybody knew I'd had a ballet background, even though I hadn't danced for 30 years. And with this beautiful, poignant music.
Yeah.
And I mean, the amazing thing about the show dance was in the final week, I wasn't very well.
Yeah, I
So
remember you were very
2
scared.
days off.
Yeah.
I literally had 2 days off. I was really sick, and somehow pulled it together for the Thursday afternoon, but we were in studio on the Friday,
Yeah,
as you
it
know.
was, yeah.
And I learnt the show dance, I think, in 20 minutes. I mean, literally, with all those lifts.
Talk about
It's
professionalism
just-
then,
it's like,
Debbie.
hey, okay, and you know, poor Giovanni, he went through hell that week because thinking I wasn't going to be able to dance because I was just so poorly. You know, we'd all had something through the series. Mine just happened to hit on that
In the
last week.
final, yeah.
And I said, come on, we got to go for it. I'm here.
Yeah.
That was it. And so we just did.
Can I just say it was so beautiful, that show dance. I definitely teared up, and the
Yeah.
song was such a beautiful song. It was, you were absolutely fat. And I have to also give a little bit of a mention to your Argentine tango. Did you enjoy the Argentine tango?
I think of all the dances we did, that was my number one.
Was that your favorite?
Yeah, it was the one I felt I'd got 100%. When I came off from doing it the first time, I knew I couldn't have done it any better.
Yes.
And it had been tough because Giovanni had never danced an Argentine tango before. So he was learning as well. So
Yeah.
it was actually quite a tough week.
But it was a beautiful
And
routine.
It was hard, as
yeah,
you
it was
know.
very
and
hard.
all those the gauchos, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so we really, really put hours and hours and hours into it. So it really felt like we were rewarded
Yeah.
with the hard work that week.
That was an incredible, I think
Yeah.
for me, probably one of the highlights of the whole
Yeah.
series. It was such a beautiful number.
It really was my favourite. I just loved dancing every minute of that dance. I loved all of them, but that just had something extra.
And then it didn't end in the final, because then you went on to do the Strictly Live
I
tour.
know.
We did. What do we say? What happens on the tour bus stays on the tour bus. Yeah.
Definitely.
So tell me, because that is a totally different experience, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because in the studio, you've got about a couple hundred people. I think it's like 600, 700 that the studio holds. But when you go, for example, into Wembley or O2, they're massive stadiums that were arenas we're performing in. Was that very different from you, or do you think you were used to it because of all the years, obviously, you've had of performance?
I think I wasn't used to doing arenas, so hearing the roars and things was amazing.
Loud. Yeah.
You know, that every night, I tingled. I couldn't wait to get out on that stage.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that, but I know how to work arenas because I've been in the business a long time. So for me, I just loved the fact that it was completely different from doing television. But hey, this is what my background is, what I've trained for.
Yeah.
To give it my all.
Give it your all.
And have the opportunity to work in an arena. I'm not a pop star. I wouldn't normally get
No,
to do that.
don't you feel like a
You
pop
know?
star?
Yeah, you do every
I felt
night.
like a pop star every night. It's amazing
Yeah.
the energy that you get from the audience when you are in that kind of a size of a place. It's just incredible. It's indescribable, really. You
And
can't.
also the dances, the 4 group dances that I was in with all of you pros, to get to dance with all of you.
Oh, yeah, you were very good in them as well.
All the dances, and to do, dance with Giovanni again and do our memories, our American
Memories
Smooth
was
and do the
beautiful,
salsa,
yeah.
where they all
Oh,
went crazy
that
every
lift.
night.
That lift
yes,
every night.
indeed.
I kept saying, how does Debbie do that lift
I don't
every
know.
night?
I
I
don't
think
know how
Giovanni
to do it.
tried to do it with Ali Ash as a joke, and Ali Ash was like, nope, I'm not trying that one. So the tour went amazing. You had a
Yeah.
great time, didn't you?
I just loved the tour. And I think, you know what it's like. When you're doing the TV series, there's so much pressure. And at the weekends when we all get together at the studio, you're thinking about your dance and that you've got to be in makeup and whatever. You don't get time to relax with everybody. We just chat a bit.
Yes.
But on the tour, we all get time with each other and there
Yeah.
isn't that pressure.
And now that you've done Strictly,
Yeah.
Strictly's kind of done, I
Yeah,
guess, for a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. You never know, you could come
I'm a
back.
has-been now.
Yeah. What have you been up to now? You said you've been super busy
Yeah.
since Strictly finished. You just said it's, Janette, I've been
Yeah.
non-stop. So what are you? I know you're still doing your radio show. 'Cause
do
I was
my
on it. I was a
Yeah,
guest
you
on
were,
it.
you were, indeed. I hope you come again. Yeah, I have my radio show every Sunday.
Amazing.
As soon as I finished the tour, I had one day off. I flew to America filming for ITV. And then
Oh,
when I-
yes, you went to Texas, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. So I was
Yeah.
in Dallas. Did
Dallas.
everything there is to do in Dallas. Even riding a horse at South Fort Worth. Had a fantastic time. And then since then, I've just had lots of work. So I've been working almost 7 days a week.
Wow.
And I've just slowed down a bit now, which is why I can be here with you.
Thank you so much, by the way.
It's
Really
my
appreciate it.
absolute pleasure. Just there's loads of things coming up that I've got coming up. Would I Lie to You with Rob Brydon, which is like a quiz show that's so funny.
It's really
they've
funny,
got
isn't
some
it?
very funny stories about me from when I was younger. Which I'm
Can you
totally
share
embarrassed
one with
about.
us?
No, because you have to watch the
Oh, okay.
I've just done a thing which was Pick of the Week for Radio 4 with Rufus Hound, Your Teenage Diaries, where he read some of my teenage diaries and took the mickey out of me. So we had great fun. And then I've done an hour special with Martin Lewis, who's a money expert, talking about Debbie McGee as the brand name and how through my life, my mental attitude to money, what I've done with money, you know.
Wow.
Things,
But like
you
said, you've been so smart with your finances from a very, very, very early age, which is quite admirable, really.
But we all make mistakes. And it was lovely to talk to him, and also about brand names and things like that. It was so interesting. And it hasn't gone out yet. And just loads of other stuff like that, you know, just like, you know, one-hit wonders, days filming. I get to sleep in my own bed. But I've been to Ireland to do chat shows twice, and then I went to Ireland for the one show for 3 days filming to go back to a childhood holiday destination because my dad was Irish. I've been to Scotland doing a quiz show I've done 6 episodes of as a panellist called Impossible with Anton de Beck and Chizzy, who were with me last year on Strictly. I've been doing quite a lot of after dinner speaking or after lunch speaking.
You are the superwoman. You are literally superwoman.
So it's just been, you know, going on and on. And I did take a little break last week and I had a little holiday. And doing some charity work because I'm involved.
So tell me about your charity, because we've not touched on that subject. What charities are you involved with?
Right. I'm involved with a few, which quite a few years ago now, Paul and I realised that every day we were both being asked to do things for charity, and it was a lot. You know, it was like every day he would get about 30 and I would get about 15 or 20.
Yeah.
But you can't do everything. You can't spread yourself that wide.
Yeah.
So we chose some charities that were close to our hearts, that they would be the ones we would mainly support, so we could give our time to.
Right.
So amongst those, I support the Lady Rattlings, which is a show business charity which helps people in show business. The Royal Theatrical Fund, which helps actors and people in show business. So if you break a leg and you can't work, so you can't afford to pay your mortgage, they help you.
Oh, wow.
And the Lady Rattlings also help people who are not in show business. So someone could come, like a cameraman today could come to me and say, we know this family, you know, they've got a disabled child and their computer's broken and they can't afford to buy them a new one, or a wheelchair and they can't get it on the NHS. They will buy that for them.
What a beautiful cause.
You know, so they're good things to be a part of. And then I support brain tumour research because Paul died of a brain tumour, so I'm doing a talk for them tomorrow in memory of Paul, and various other children's charities, because I really like supporting things for children.
For children.
But lots of other charities come to me, and to be honest, if I'm free that day,
you will
go along
and do it. So you think being charitable is quite important to you?
I think it's very important.
Yes.
I think it's good to be able to give something back, and I just feel I've been so lucky in my life that if I can give a little bit back, help somebody.
And you know what? Being, like you said, being a person that is so much in the public eye, there is a certain power that comes with that, and it's not necessarily a financial power, but it's the power of your voice, and you attending an event or you speaking about a certain issue can have a huge effect. That's helpful, and so it's so good to give back, like you said, especially for someone as yourself who's had such an incredible life and incredible journey. And to just give back to others the way that you do. But I have to say, your story is quite sensational. I always said to you, Debbie McGee, that you inspire me, and you really, really do. I'm in such awe of your dedication and passion and professionalism, how smart you've been since such a young age, and how just incredible you are as a woman. And you know what? For being such a powerhouse, because you are a powerhouse, and so, you know, superwoman, I would call you. You're so easy and lovely to talk to. But my last question of the day, if we go way back to when you were born, you were 5, 6, 7 years old, before you started watching these old Hollywood films that made you fall in love with dancing. If dancing would not have happened, what do you think would have been your other route in life? What would have been your plan B?
Something financial. Maths was my best subject at school. I loved mental arithmetic. And my dad used to play games when I was a kid of doing my times tables and long division and and things. Both my sister and brother. My brother's an accountant and my sister works.
I love
high
your
up in
sister.
banking.
She's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I would have done something. Like
Really?
they've done. Yeah, because I love figures.
And you're very good at it, obviously,
Yeah.
because you had, you know, like you said, at 19, you just knew instinctively that you needed to save the money, and it got you out of this situation. Really? So we would have had a financial advisor, Debbie McGee.
Or an accountant or something like that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with me today. You
Lovely.
are seriously inspirational.
And are you going to keep all those cakes to yourself?
We're going to have some now, actually, and finish up our tea. Thank you so much for coming in today.
My
Give me
absolute
one more
pleasure.
cuddle. Mwah. You are seriously inspirational, and so much the lovely Debbie McGee.
Thank you.
And guys, if you want to see what we're going to get up to the rest of the day, check this out.